Arsenal Man United, not quite the crunch clash it was 20 years ago. This season, they're battling out to see who can finish in the top four. And bad news for Paul Pogba. The news came through today that he is unlikely to play again this season, according to the interim Manchester United coach Ralph Rangnick. As you may know, his United contract expires this summer, so it could be that he has played his last game for the club, as we now welcome in Stuart Robson. So what do we make of this with Paul Pogba, Stuart? Is it just a waste of talent during his time at Manchester United or not?
He's had some good times. He's been exceptional on occasions, but having seen the player that he was at Juventus and having seen the player he was at the 2013 Under-20 World Cup, where he was the best player in the tournament by far, at Juventus, I thought he was going to go and become the best midfield player in the world. He could do everything you wanted. He was strong, he could pass it long, he could pass it short, he could manipulate the ball and play out of pressure, he could play round pressure, he could score goals, he was good defensively, but something's not quite been right at Manchester United, and I'm not quite sure why. Is it him? Is it the club? I think it comes down to he hasn't quite been as fit throughout his Manchester United career as he was at Juventus. He hasn't quite been as confident because of those reasons. The crowd have got onto him a little bit. He's not always shown the best attitude on the field, and he's been caught on the ball too many times, so he's been inconsistent. So I think it's been a waste of his talent at Manchester United.
Who do you think's to blame, Shaka, the club or Paul Pogba?
I think it's a bit of both. On the one hand, I think, and we've said this on the show time and time again, Paul Pogba makes good teams better, but he's not the player you build a team around. He is not the linchpin. So when you look at Manchester United and the dressing rooms that Paul Pogba has been a part of over his United career, they've not been great. They've had good finishes, second last season, but I don't think this, by the usual measure of who Manchester United are, anybody can say that this post-Ferguson era has been a good United team. That being said, and Stuart was right in pointing out, Paul Pogba has all the tools to be an incredible talent in world football. He has all the tools for anybody to build a team around. And the fact that it did not work at United, while yes, you could blame poor dressing rooms for some of why he failed to have the impact that you'd expect, I think the majority of the blame has to fall at his feet. Because at some point, you have to move past being a contributor in a good team, as he was with Juventus. We've seen him start to move in that direction with France. But you've seen no hint of it at Manchester United. And that's why I think Paul Pogba has to bear 70% of the blame in this regard.
One player who will be back tomorrow for Manchester United is Cristiano Ronaldo after the tragic loss of his newborn son. Erik ten Hag, the new manager, has let it be known that Cristiano Ronaldo is free to go and look for other clubs, that he isn't really in the plans for the future. Do you think he's going to have a point to prove tomorrow, Stuart?
He'll have a point to prove, but Ronaldo has proved on many occasions that when the chances come his way, he's going to score goals. Is he the right player for Manchester United over the next couple of years? I believe exactly what Ten Hag is saying. If you're a new manager coming into a club, you need to make your own decisions. You need to have a game plan that you've got in your mind. And at times, and I said it with Andrea Pirlo when he took over at Juventus, the biggest problem for him was playing his game plan with Ronaldo in the team. And Ten Hag's going to come in, he's going to want to do it his way, and he doesn't want anything to stop him. And Ronaldo would stop him probably playing his way. So, yes, to answer your question, Ronaldo will have something to prove against Arsenal, that's for sure.
Can I say, I don't think that's front of his mind at all. And listen, I cannot imagine the personal tragedy that Ronaldo is having to deal with right now. And in all honesty, playing football is probably exactly what he needs. It's that little bit of an escape from what he's having to deal with off the field. And we all really sympathize. I cannot imagine what that must be like. So we have to allow him that little escape. And while the timing of Ten Hag's statement isn't great in that regard, I don't think that's front of his mind at all. He just wants to get back to doing what he's built his life around. And then we see what comes at the end of the season. I suspect that between now and the end of the season, The last thing he's thinking about is Ten Hag, whether he'll be a United player next season. He just wants to get on with doing what he does and what has always been his own release. There's no doubt in my mind that Ronaldo will get to choose what's next, what his next chapter is. And maybe it's not United, but so be it. He's earned that right to make that decision, whether it's go back to Portugal, whether it's go somewhere else in the Far East or the Middle East, whatever it may be, he's earned that. But for right now, it's just about getting the next 90 minutes through and putting some of his personal tragedies aside, even if it is for just 90 minutes at a time.
Manchester United could certainly do with him. The two teams are coming in on the back of very different results, Robbo. Must Manchester United get a victory here?
I think so. I mean, they've got to get a victory just to take away that disgraceful performance against Liverpool. The crowd, the fans will demand it off their team. The team have got to show they are willing to fight. And to get into the top four, they've got to beat Arsenal, who had an excellent win against Chelsea, as we saw. Maybe a bit of lucky on occasions, Arsenal against Chelsea, but overall they deserve to win the game. So this is a massive game, I think, for both clubs, particularly Manchester United.
Given that it changes on a daily basis with all you lot on here, we're asking you today, who's finishing in the top four of these teams? So, Shaka, who have you got today? Because it does change.
I'm sticking with Spurs, as I've had for the last 2 or 3 days, which is long, given the run that we've been in. I just feel that Arsenal's running is more difficult between them and Spurs, and I just wonder if that causes them to slip up a little bit more, despite that result we saw against Chelsea. The amazing thing about this race for the top four is that Manchester United is still in conversation, that they're 3 points, albeit they've played a game more, 3 points behind Spurs and Arsenal, because nothing about their football suggests that they will get anywhere near top four. I think I don't see that. I don't see that changing between now and the end of the season. It's down to Spurs and Arsenal, and as I said, it's down to the run-ins. And for the third day running, which is pretty good for me, I've got Spurs.
OK, just quickly before I get your predictions then, Robbo, who are you going for the top four finish?
I'm going to go for Spurs because I think they've got a better manager and I think they're a better side. And if they play at their very best, which they didn't do against Brighton, Spurs should beat Arsenal when they come to the Spurs ground. And I think over the course of the last few games, Spurs should get that top four spot.
But in terms of the game against Manchester United, you're both going for an Arsenal win. Why, Robbo?
Because Manchester United were so poor, their confidence must be really low. I looked at some of their players, their body language was all over the place. I don't think Ranić has done himself any favours. I think he said all the right things at the end of the game, saying that the players, aren't quite good enough and haven't got the right sort of players. There's going to have to be a massive clear-out, but that's not going to inspire the players for this game against Arsenal. Manchester United looked a shambles the other day. They were disorganised. There was a lack of effort, a lack of heart. And I think Arsenal, having beaten Chelsea, will go into the game with that little bit of confidence.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and of course, ESPN FC 7 days a week, subscribe to ESPN+.